Hello everybody, and welcome back to Hillside Forge. Today's episode, we're going to have something a little more exciting for you guys. I know I've been doing some small projects leading up to this, but now let's start making knives again. So I had a client come to me saying they wanted a Japanese style chef knife with a few modifications done to it. So we're going to start with this piece of 1080 steel, and we're going to make a knife out of it. So let's get the forge up and running, and let's get to work. So first we're going to start off with an 11-inch piece of this steel. It's about 11 inches by 2 3/4. But we're going to make a mark at the 7-inch mark. The blade is designed to be 7.5 inches overall, so making it at the 7 inches is going to give us enough excess to work with. And then I just draw a slope down from my 1/2 inch line. And that's going to be what I use to isolate the handle. I'm not going to cut the handle to shape because I want to add more mass to the handle, because he says he likes weight in his hand, so the thicker the tang, the more weight he'll have in his hand. Just want to double check my measurements, make sure I have everything right. It's about a 2.5 inch slope down to the line of the steel. And then after I finish all the measurements here, I'm going to go to the other end of the billet and I'm going to round off the top corner, which is what we're going to use to make our blade. Now we're going to do it like we did before in the kitchen knife video that I did, where we do it kind of backwards. You would think you draw the curve on the other side, but it works much better to do it this way, because when you're beveling out the blade, it will begin to curve up. The slope is about 3/4 of an inch down on the steel and extends over about 2 inches. That's just going to help us with the preform of the blade, like I said before. But after we have everything drawn on the way we like, we're going to take it over to the angle grinder. We're going to cut out the lines that we made, and then we're going to go over to the belt sander and get rid of all those 90-degree angles. So here all I'm doing is rounding over those edges we did. If you have rounded edges in your preform, it prevents cold shuts, or at least helps prevent them. If you have 90-degree corners, they're really harder to work and break down. I even go over and work the juncture points between the tang and the blade, making sure that's nice and rounded. If there's a 90-degree corner in there, if it's really sharp, it'll be a stress point and you'll risk breakage. And that's not something I want to do with this, so I'm going to take every precaution I can. So now I'm going to begin working down the handle. Now it's a very thin piece of steel. It's only about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to keep working it over and over again. And as I try and strike it down, I'm going to have to flatten it back out. So it's a continuous process of just hitting the direction I want to and then flattening out and correcting what I did. It takes some time and a bunch of repetitions, but I want to keep that mass in the tang, so we're just going to keep working it over and over again. Now with the blade flipped around, I'm going to begin to hammer in the tip. And essentially all that is some 45-degree blows facing back in towards me to try and break down those corners even more and begin to taper the steel down towards the tip. Eventually I'll begin to take half on, half off blows or glancing blows to make that tip come together much more cleanly. But once again, that process of taking a few strikes and then flattening out the steel, it's always the risky run working with thinner steel, but for chef knives, I prefer to work with an 1/8 inch steel because it makes my grinding way less hard in the end. Now that I have the tip about where I want it, I'm going to start working back the rest of the spine and just continue to make that nice taper from the heel of the knife all the way to the tip. I don't want it to be the same uniform thickness like a rectangle. I want to have a gentle taper to it. Here I'm going to take a few passes just to straighten everything out before I begin the beveling, make sure everything looks nice and crisp the way I want it. I don't want any high areas or low areas, so I'll have to be correcting those as I go. I want a nice uniform shape before I ever start putting the bevel on. I realized here that I wasn't being careful and I have a cold shut on the one side, so I'm going to take it over to the grinder and grind that off real quick. And then here's what we have without it. It's still kind of there, but it'll go away with the rest of the grinding we do. So now that I have that all cleaned up, I'm going to finish tapering out the tang to about the dimension I want it. I'm still going to lose some of this in the grinding, but again, I'm trying to make it bigger so I have sacrificial material to lose. And I also have enough mass in the tang that I can correct things later after the grinding and before the final shaping of it all. So here for the beveling, I'm going to work the whole edge and just work my way down. Some people suggest working just one spot at a time. That's totally fine. Just for this project, I decided to do it all at once. And then after a few passes with that, I finish up the tang, make sure that's the final way I want it. But I realize it's kind of kicked up a little bit, so I'm going to take it over to the horn of the anvil and just whack it a few times to bring it back into alignment. It's still a little off, but I can fix it in the grinding. So we're just going to keep it straight and then see how it goes. So this is our final forging blank. We're going to take it over to the grinder and clean everything up here, give everything nice crisp lines. There is that section where the handle kicks up and the blade kind of swoops, so I'm going to be chasing that, trying to get that gone. But I'm going to continue to check the measurements over and over again because I made it bigger than it has to be, so I don't want to lose material while grinding. I need to keep it that I can get a 7.5 inch blade out of this. I'm keeping it a little long in case something goes wrong in heat treatment, that I can still correct the steel. But 7.5 is the overall blade length that my client wants, so that's what we're going to give him. All right, there you have it. We've officially forged out our blank, our chef knife. We're getting the good lines nice and crisp. This is not the final dimensions. It's really close to it. But there's still some final straightening and forging I want to do tomorrow, but I wanted to get this profile dialed in before I went and continued my rest of my finish work. I started off pretty big, but I wanted a lot to be able to sacrifice to get the final shape I wanted, and that's mainly because I haven't done this in a while and I want to make sure that the finished piece looks immaculate. So I really want to take my time, make sure I'm doing everything right. I was chasing that spot right there on the grinder for a little bit, but overall, it came out really nice. I'm super happy with it. I'm excited to continue this process with you guys. I look forward to the next video. Until then, enjoy, and hopefully you have fun in your shop. Have a great night, everybody.